Well, you said you were slightly uneasy with the amount of endorsement that the Daily Mail has given to the new Gordon Brown government. Is there anything wrong with appealing to the masses across the spectrum?
Well, I do think the Daily Mail is not the masses across the spectrum. The Daily Mail is a very particular view of the world. And my point is not so much it's wrong to earn the approbation of one newspaper. My point is that you can't carry on for long having econiums of praise from the likes of Neil Lawson and The Compass and the Daily Mail. You know, a political project, a big tent, can't be that big and coherent enough to kind of stay open. That's my point. That's the heart of my point. You can't look in so many different directions at once, and ultimately you raise expectations for so many constituencies that definitionally can't be appeased. You know, what if Gordon Brown is going to be even a centrist policy with a centrist politician with liberal left values? The idea that in 2 years' time he will have the Daily Mail cooing with pleasure is nonsensical if at the same time he wants to keep the rest of his constituency in the tent.
I mean, one of the most important things for New Labour has been it's been able to build a coalition across society, so to keep the middle classes, the aspirant and the less well-off all together in some kind of big tent. You felt that maybe Brown was trying to shed his Stalinist, centralist sort of image. Do you think that Gordon Brown really is the sort of guy that can also appeal to the iPod generation, the people who want personalisation and want all the things that modern life demands?
Well, as I said in this fringe, actually, in this respect, I am a kind of uber Blairite, and then I think that Blair's conviction that richer, better educated, more discerning, more affluent people, the mass, if you like, with which New Labour has to appeal to win elections, and unless you do things like offer personalised public services, you ain't going to win them over and sustain them. So I don't know about this. I mean, I think that Gordon Brown is going to carry on where Tony Blair left off. I mean, there are signs that he wanted to qualify it a bit. One of the reasons why some of the union leaders were very pro him. I hope he drives on. I hope he drives on with this agenda. Because if you want to appeal to the inverted commas iPod generation, that's the kind of thing you have to do.
Because instinctively, critics might say that in the previous 10 years he's always been very, very centralist. I know what's best for you, whether you like it or not. And it's something that David Cameron's trying to get onto at the moment, this kind of conservative liberalism and returning power to people rather than doing things through government. Do you think that Gordon Brown genuinely can carry it off, this kind of, I'm trying to give power back as well and I'm trying to serve personalisation, if you like?
Well, I think there's a difference between personalising public services like health, education, housing, and this notion of giving power back. I mean, I am uneasy about this talk, listening, consulting, going around the country, talking to hundreds and thousands of people, he says. I'm not sure in a parliamentary democracy that's what it's all about. And I think parliamentary democracy is for political parties to kind of lead, actually, have a series of values. Of course, they're in a conversation and argument with the public, but actually they don't kind of just say that politics is about kind of listening and we'll take into account what you think and say. What you end up thinking is you again raise impossible expectations because you're saying to everybody, from from the most prejudiced bigot to the most kind of liberal left saint, you're saying, well, we are listening to you. We're going to do what you say, and then you raise the expectation, which must be disappointed. You'd be much better to say, I'm a conviction politician, I have these set of values, I have this vision for Britain, I want to take it to you, argue it out with you, where I've got stuff wrong, of course I'll correct it, because I want a dialogue with you, but I'm going to lead from the front. Not, I've got no ideas, I'm a blank sheet of paper, all I want to do is to listen to you and do what you say. Well, that's not quite what Gordon is saying, but that's the kind of tone he wants to strike, to convince people he's centrist, and I think it's a mistake.
In terms of within the party, a lot of people in the party feel as though after Iraq and other sleaze and scandals within government that almost they want their party back. Do you think that Brown can do a lot more outside of conference and the showpiece that the conference is? He could do more to reconnect with the party?
Yes, I think, and I think he will, actually. I mean, he does understand the Labour Party. He loves the Labour Party. The Labour Party has been his life. The Labour Party has taken him to the prime ministership of this country. He loves it. And
how do you think he can do that?
He honours the Labour Party in a way that I don't think Tony Blair did. I mean, Tony Blair thinly veiled contempt for the Labour Party, actually. How do you think he can do it? I think that he's got to be honest. I think he's got to set expectations. I think he has to work out what he thinks and argue with the party about what he thinks. I think he's got to be straight.
That's been lacking, has it, in the past?
I think so. Well, one of the good things about Tony Blair was that he did argue with the party. He used his conference speech to argue with the party, and I think that I hope that in today's conference speech, I hope that Gordon argues with the Labour Party. I hope he says, well, this bit is we both stand together, and we're shoulder to shoulder. There's other things where I must tell you this, and this. I mean, Tony used his conference speech to argue with the party and to make his case, and actually, in a way, it was respecting the party at that moment. What was it? The rest of the year didn't do much. It's an ongoing thing. You've got to be in continual dialogue with the party. So I think there are some organisational reforms as well. I mean, I think that life needs to be breathed into city groupings, maybe some regional groupings.
So directly elected mayors, city regions?
Yeah, if you like, but also on a party basis. So the Labour Party can, in a city or in a city region, come together and start thinking through what it wants that city region to do. So I think there's quite a lot, quite a big agenda actually.
And one of the biggest challenge facing most social democratic governments in the West is globalisation. Do you think that genuinely a national government can ever sort of produce policy?
Yeah, I've no doubt about it. I mean, I think globalisation, of course, it's taking place, and of course, it's important. But the idea that there's an enormous latitude for national governments is just wrong. I mean, Sarkozy's France and George Bush's America, and Sweden. And Prodi's Italy are very distinct entities, very distinct policy mixes, very distinct cultures, very distinct institutions. One thing the world, Tom Friedman in his book said the world is flat, and the world is not flat. The world is spiky. The world is pockmarked by difference, and within those differences, and with that lack of flatness, there's immense scope for governments to have particular policy mixes. So the notion that globalisation rules off options wants to be killed stone dead. All the watchers of this should think that is, just don't buy it. It is just nonsense.
So you want protectionism over things like foreign takeovers and
if we wanted to, we could be much tougher about foreign takeovers of British companies. We could do what the Japanese have done. We could say that, and what the Americans have a national security test, and the Japanese and the French have said that they're not going to allow foreigners to own companies they regard as strategic. I mean, the world hasn't fallen in on France, Japan, and America. That's because they don't have a strong investment banking community insisting they want a deal flow. I mean, the trouble is, if we say that, the Goldman Sachs and the investment bankers will go to the Treasury and say it's outrageous, you're wrecking our business model. Our income stream, our revenue as investment bankers depends on doing deals. What are you doing? And the question is whether you want your society built around the capacity of the investment banking community in London to do deals, or whether you want to build a social democratic Britain. We have that choice. And the notion that you don't have the choice because of globalisation is pure gold carrot nonsense.